Today we are beginning the massive process of processing, how many gallons? 40 gallons of kombucha. What had happened was, okay, so I'm sure you guys have noticed over there on the counter, I have a 3-gallon spigot where I keep kombucha on the counter. Originally, that was all I thought that I would need for myself for my own, monthly kombucha consumption. I ferment kombucha for an entire month. And then I realized that that was not enough. So I now have 5 more gallons. So a total of 8 of those gallons are just for myself, for my own monthly consumption. It seems to be just about the sweet spot for me and myself. My husband does not consume it. My son does not consume it. That is just my consumption per month. And then I also sell kombucha at farmers markets, local festivals, stuff like that. So I have 16 gallons that are devoted to that. And then there is another 16 gallons of something that is technically called Jun, but is basically just kombucha with a slightly different culture that is made with honey and green tea instead of black tea and table sugar. So today I'm beginning the process of all of that. This is going to be at least a 2-day process. I'm just going to kind of bring you guys along behind the scenes. At the same time, I'm also going to be filming a how-to kombucha video, but that one's going to come out once the second fermentation is finished. So probably a couple weeks from now. So, first step in the process is getting the boiler going. The kombucha that I sell to people, I sanitize all the jars in a boil bath canner. The only pot that I have that is tall enough is my All-American. By default, I cannot use my All-American on my glass top canner. Maybe I could to pressure can things because it won't be full, but this guy is full of water plus the jars, and I just don't feel comfortable with it. I can't afford to buy a new stove. So the next step is all of these jars, when they come to me from the factory or from the store that I purchased them from, come with like a weird film on them, and I've discovered that that only gets me 1 round in the canner, and then I have to boil new water because it's like a weird shiny oily film, so I have to rinse all of them off. When I rinse them off, that removes that film that is on there. So next up, I need to rinse off 14 dozen jars. That was the first time I've ever been able to rinse off all the jars before this thing came to a boil. I'm like, what is going on? Propane was empty. You get the idea. This is going to take absolutely forever, and I need my camera so that I can go film a how-to kombucha for you guys. If you guys are interested in my kombucha shirt, I have this one as well as a lot of other ones. There's a sauerkraut one, there's one that just says booch on it, it's a little bit cuter, and there's all kinds of options available only for the month of February. I'll leave the link for it down below if you want to check it out. Peruse all the different options, all different sorts of colors, different styles. You know, there's hoodies, there's tank tops, t-shirts, you name it. There's even stuff for kids on there. So check that one out if you want to. And I'm going to finish all of this up and bring you back this evening where we're going to make more tea than you've probably ever seen in your life. it is the next day. Earlier this morning, I went ahead and made half of the kombucha that I need for the stuff that I'm selling. And that is right here. And we're just about to make the other half of it. I just find it's easier to deal with, easier to manage, easier, just everything about it is easier if I make it separately. And I do make a tea concentrate where I put in 1/4 of the amount of the liquid that I need, steep the tea in it, and then I just add in cold water, and that makes it so that I don't have to wait like an entire day. And I'm just more comfortable not letting this stuff sit out at room temperature, because obviously you cannot put 4 to 5 gallons of steaming hot tea in the fridge. You'll ruin everything in your fridge. So you kind of you have to leave it out and just let it cool. This way, I don't have to leave it out, and I just think it's more sanitary, and it's a lot easier. Like, I can just do everything in one day. I'm getting a little bit of a later start than I had hoped. Please excuse the lighting. I have none. So it's easier. What was I saying? Crap. I was saying something. It was there. Now it's gone. Oh, right. I am getting a little bit of a later start than I had hoped that I would. This morning I had to go with my friend Heather, and we went and got our raw milk from a local homesteader here. And then I had to do all my morning stuff, the chores, the making hubby's lunch. And so he's at work now. I'm ready to just explode this kitchen, metaphorically speaking, and just bust this stuff out. I really don't think I'm gonna get through all 40 gallons today, but whatever. I can just do more tomorrow. Thankfully, the lids on these things are interchangeable, because I'm not entirely sure where the other lid went. Now I just need to unbox unbag all of these. It would be a lot easier if I bought this stuff in bulk. However, it's not cheaper. This stuff is actually cheaper. I priced it out. So until my time becomes more valuable than the money that I save on this, I'm just gonna spend the 10 minutes and unbag all of these. I know that most people say to use like standard, low quality, terrible cane sugar, and the kombucha loves it. Maybe that's true, I don't know. I used to use cane sugar in Washington when it was widely available, and the stuff that was sold at Costco was the C&H brand that is cane sugar. However, the stuff that's sold around here at Costco is not cane sugar. It's GMO, like sugar beet sugar. So I use this also because if I'm selling it, I want to be able to sell it as an organic product. So I just use the organic cane sugar that they sell at Costco. I find it's easier, instead of just doing like one at a time or doing all of them at a time, working in about 8 gallons at a time seems to work pretty well for me. The main reason for that is that I typically have about 8 empty gallon jars on hand most of the time. So that makes it a little bit easier because I can do half of the batch and then I can wash all the jars and use them for the next one. So it just, my dishwasher fits 8 of these. So it's just the way that I work things out. Today, however, I am a little bit lucky because I happen to have 3 extra gallons. So we might be able to do a little bit extra fancy footwork there. Maybe this angle will work better. 1 cup of sugar. And 1 quart of our concentrate. Now that we have all 8 of these charged up and ready to go, it's time to turn them over. This should be pretty easy. I didn't want to jinx myself, but I haven't seen any mold. All I'm really looking for out of this is just the top one. If I can get it to float, that'd be great. We're a little bit overdue on these. So the scobies are quite thick. So just put the SCOBY in there. Depending on how long it's fermented for, either 1 or 2 cups of starter. Just, you need to get to a certain level of acidity for it to not mold. This one that happens to be long overdue. So 1 cup should be plenty. Top it off. And I always make sure to put the date on it. And I have, technically I have 3 different types going. I have the Jun, which is different enough to be notable. And then I have the kombucha that I make for sale, which is something called a Tibetan SCOBY. It uses a different kind of tea. It uses organic pu'er tea instead of black tea. So I mark it as P Booch, or if the other one, then I just mark it Booch. All right, so now it's time to flavor and do a second bottling of our kombucha. And I go the simplest way possible, the way that is the most consistent, simple, and inexpensive. Juice. Particularly these bottles of juice. I have a lot of different ways that I flavor them. I have like a grape, blueberry ginger, lemon ginger, cherry almond. Can't think of the other ones. Blueberry pomegranate? Yeah. I have yet to find something that I can use that is not plastic for this particular step. I hate it. I wish I could find something that is better. The glass ones just don't work well. They're also kind of dangerous because they can chip off and you don't notice it. You can't use aluminum. This is just what I have for now. If y'all have any tips or anything like that, send me an email with a link. I'd love it. And the juice that I use almost exclusively is organic. I just buy the same juice every time, so I don't have to change or adjust my labels or anything. And I've also kind of mastered the ratios that my customers seem to like and that I like, so I just stick with it. And this is definitely the part of the process that things get messy. And for the lid, I just use the lids that are intended for it. But I have come up with a system for myself where each flavor has a different color lid that I know obviously what the flavor is. So if I'm selling them out of coolers or something like that, or just at a super easy glance, you don't have to try and fish out the label. You just look at the cap and you know what flavor it is. So then I just rinse them off one by one, let them dry, box them up, let them ferment at room temperature for about a week. At some point during that, I will put labels on them before I put them in the fridge, because I have discovered, and well, I didn't discover, it's just kind of obvious, if you would try and put the labels on after they're in the fridge, they will form condensation. The labels don't stick on them very well, so before I put them in the fridge, I gotta get the labels on there. So as I mentioned earlier, this is more of a vlog style, not so much of a how to make kombucha video. So I'm just gonna finish off the rest of this kombucha, and then I'll bring you back when I'm ready to start working on the Jun. It's the next day. I am almost finished. I have about half of the Jun left and the 8 gallons that I make for myself. So I've got 16 gallons left. So I think I got through probably like 2/3 of it. However, the Jun is not really fit for consumption. It's way too far gone, even for me. So I decided to not waste the bottles and all the juice when I know later on I'm just gonna throw it away. So the pigs get it. Might have to change of plans. I fed it to miso in his food and he stopped eating. If you know anything about boars, that means he really doesn't like it. So I think I'm just gonna take one jar and split it among all of them. So there's just a little bit in the food. Enough to help them, but not too much. You know, little piglets. Love it. What happens when the hose gets kinky? I guess that must have just taken some getting used to, because miso is now eating quite happily. So maybe it was just, it's a pretty acidic flavor, so I can see why it might take him a little bit of getting used to. But it looks like Booch is over there and she's eating. Doesn't look like Kiefer's a whole lot interested in it, but I'm sure she will be. Maybe her babies just needed to be fed. Oh, and also, by the way, the shelter stands unused. They have both decided they would rather co-parent, and they're like completely co-parenting. It's like all of these ones are just like one little litter. They're all congealed in one little mass. All of them are nursing off of each of them. I can't force the pigs to separate, so they are just enjoying being together. See, they don't like it. Don't worry, I'm not going to touch your piggies. See, that is not her baby. I'm back in the kitchen. After I was looking outside at the piglets, I think one of them might have died. And I couldn't get close enough. The moms just will not let me get close. Robert is the one that is in there playing with them, and they trust him a little bit better. So I think once he gets up, I'm gonna ask him to go in there and double check. There's definitely something in there, and I'm fairly confident that we're missing one of the piglets. One of the moms was in there and licking it. I think she's sad that it died or something. It doesn't look like they're eating it. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, but that made me really sad. So at any rate, while we were out there, I reheated the green tea that I made last night. I thought that I could plow through and finish everything last night, and I just couldn't. I had to go to bed. Last night also was the live stream for the Fermented February that is going on currently. If you guys don't know about Fermented February, it's a collaboration going on the entire month of February. This video is not a part of that collaboration, but still feel free to comment down below. I love your opinions and your inputs and stuff. But it is a collaboration that's going on all month. There are a ton of different collaborators that are making one video every day in the month of February, all based around fermentation. So we need to finish up the Jun. Like I told you guys earlier, we're just turning over the batch, and the rest is going to become pig food. It's too ripe. It's too potent, which is kind of hard to achieve with Jun because it's usually a much more mild acidic flavor than regular kombucha. So I guess, let me see, November, December, January. We are almost at the 4-month mark, so I can see why it would be a little bit ripe. However, the kombucha that we just made, I'm very intrigued because it is only 1 month newer than the other one. So I'm really surprised that it's not more acidic. And I'm also really excited to look into the one that is made with the regular black tea kombucha, because that one tends to be a little bit more acidic. And that's what I remember when I was tasting it. I have the kombucha that's on draft over there, and when I run out of the bottle stuff, I just take that without the second fermentation, and it was pretty ripe. So it is really interesting how just a slight tweak in some of the ingredients can have all the effect in the world. This is not a how to make Jun video either, and to appease anybody who might be concerned, yes, I washed my hands multiple times. I have changed my outfit. As you can see, I'm back to, it's a different kombucha shirt, but it's still a kombucha shirt. So we're ready to rock and roll, nice and clean. Just for giggles, I'm curious. I'm just curious. So the complete just tea is 6.48. It's still dropping a little bit. We'll say 6.4 pH. This insanely overripe Jun seems like it's settling out at 2.16. When we add the 1 cup of starter to it, wow, it drops the pH to 3.00. If you know much about the pH level, if you have to be under 4.6 to prevent botulism and any other pathogens from growing. Mold can still take hold on here, but it's far more likely when it is that level of pH. So I have never actually tested the pH in that way. So that is really, really intriguing that it dropped that much. And pH is very important with this. We're culturing basically vinegar here for the most part. And one interesting thing to note with Jun, the scobies are much less firm. Oh, I should wash my hands again. They're much less firm. They're much more, they're much easier to fall apart, see? And that's in general, not just because it's over fermented. I feel like I should note here, if you're gonna process this much kombucha, your hands are going to be absolutely raw by the end of it, because you gotta wash your hands so many times. Also, Jun is much more likely to foam up and press up against the cloth or the paper towel, the coffee filter, whatever you're using to cover it. It's much more likely to come up and press against it. And so you'll need to come through usually after a few days and change out the coffee filter, because if you leave the filter on there or whatever you're using, if you leave it on top there, it's a really easy way for fruit flies to be able to lay their eggs inside your ferment, because it's pressing up against it. The fruit flies might not be able to get through, but their eggs definitely seem to be able to. I should write on this, because I'm not gonna remember what it is. We're all done. All that's left is to clean up these jars, pull out the extra scobies, and set these aside for pig food for the next couple of days. So as you can see, all of the kombucha, the Jun, everything is all here. It is all in its place, and this is where it will remain for the next month until we're ready to do this again. It's been a while since I've tried to do both the Jun and the kombucha on the same day. However, I think I'm gonna do it again. I'm just gonna make sure that I start earlier in the day, because that was definitely the key that made it so that I couldn't get it all done in the same calendar day, though I would like to point out I did do it within 24 hours, excluding the boiling of the bottles, which I never really count as part of it. It's just something that I do within a couple of days prior. This is definitely not its permanent home. I actually work out of a commercial kitchen normally, but due to unforeseen circumstances, I had to pull all of my ferments and make them at home. But hopefully here within the next month, these should be going back there. And of course, I'll bring you guys along for that. Last year, I was selling these at local events, as well as traveling for events and selling them at farmers markets. And this year, I'm only planning to travel for one event, and that is because I'm speaking at it. And that is the Keepers of the Old Ways in April. So I will be speaking at that one. I will also be selling my ferments at that one. But other than that, I'm just gonna be selling them at local events, and I don't plan to do any markets beyond maybe the first few weeks while I sell the remainder of the fermented foods that I am selling. I'm just going to be continuing with the kombucha, and I'm not going to be doing the fermented foods, at least not this year. There is a possibility that I could pick it back up again next year, but that's kind of the plan for now because I can't maintain all of it. I prefer to do content creation, teaching people how to do this kind of stuff while I'm learning it myself. So if you guys are local, I will try and keep everybody updated on which events I'm going to be selling at. I will definitely be at all of the Baker Creek events. I really enjoy selling them there. It is super local to me. It's very close, and I have a lot of fun doing it at that event, so it's kind of a win-win. Other than that, I'm not sure which other events I'll be selling at. If you guys have anything local that is within a reasonable driving distance for me, let me know down below. I would love to check them out. And be sure that you guys are staying tuned because remember, I am doing a how to do the kombucha video, and I'm also thinking I'm going to do a coffee kombucha because I just remembered that I actually, one of these up here behind there is an old forgotten coffee kombucha that I made a little while back. And remember, these t-shirts are available only for the month of February. So if you're interested in checking out all the different options, there are quite a few different designs out there. Be sure to check it out down below. And if you want to get the scoop on fermented February, be sure to check out this video right here where I'm making some fermented sriracha, completely unrelated to this video, but you can get an idea of what the collaboration's all about. Peace out, sauerkraut.